They discovered the shocking secrets of Jesus' 12 disciples like never before. Few knew what truly happened that night. Whispers filled the darkened streets of Jerusalem, secrets unraveling like a tapestry woven with hidden threads. Each disciple held a truth, a mystery that lingered in the air, crackling like static before a storm. Imagine Peter, the rock, his heart pounding. He had walked on water, but what did it cost him? The moonlight kissed his face, revealing shadows of doubt. Was he truly worthy to lead, or just a fisherman tossed by the waves of fate? As he stared into the depths of the Sea of Galilee, the water swirled like his thoughts, tumultuous and dark. And then there was Matthew, the tax collector. His past haunted him like a ghost. Abandoned by his people, he became an outcast, choosing greed over grace. Yet, one glance from Jesus transformed him. Was it love or madness that pulled him from a life of wealth to one of struggle? In the marketplace, filled with laughter and bartering, he felt like an imposter, a man caught between two worlds. James and John, the brothers, were known as the sons of thunder. Their anger burned like fire, yet their hearts carried the weight of unspoken fears. Violence swirled around them, but in their hearts, there was longing for peace. Together they stood at the shores, grappling with their temperaments, searching for purpose in a challenging landscape. Thomas, the doubter, faced the world with a wave of skepticism. Each miracle was a mountain to climb. When Jesus spoke of resurrection, doubt clouded Thomas' heart. Was he brave enough to believe in the impossible? The air hung heavy with possibility, yet doubt rooted deep, strong as an ancient oak. And Judas, oh, the betrayal. The name hung like a blade over their heads. Was it treachery or desperation that pushed him to the dark side? In the shadows, he struggled. Greed tussled with loyalty. The silver coins jingled in his pocket, a seductive siren call. All around, tension vibrated. What drove these men? Fear? Faith? Friendship? The world they lived in was turbulent and raw, filled with oppression and hope. Each canvas of their lives painted a story of struggle, stretching across the sands of time, beckoning the curious to uncover more. What became of these 12 men who walked so closely with the divine? Was their fate sealed in the annals of history, or were there hidden truths waiting to be uncovered? Each disciple held a part of the puzzle, yet the biggest question remained. What secrets would surface that could alter everything? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of crimson and violet, the weight of secrecy hung heavily over the disciples. Each of them had tasted the blood of uncertainty, and in the shadows, conversations circled like vultures around a feast. They had walked with Jesus, seen miracles unfold, yet each was shackled by the bond of their own doubts and regrets. One evening, as the flickering light of a single oil lamp cast dancing shadows on the wall of their humble dwelling, the disciples gathered. The murmurs grew, an undercurrent of hesitation rippling through them. Simon the Zealot, his eyes fierce, broke the silence, his voice a low rumble. We are chosen, yet how can we fulfill our purpose when doubt grips our hearts? Why do we still question the one who called us? Matthew leaned forward, his brow furrowed in thought. I have seen him heal the sick and raise the dead. My heart knows the truth, yet my mind rebels against it. Is it not natural to doubt? As each disciple shared, the lamp flickered, illuminating their faces like a glimpse into their souls. John, gentle yet fervent, gestured toward their leader. Peter walked on water, yet when the storm arose, he faltered. Fear choked his faith. Are we not like him, caught between faith and fear? The words hung in the air, echoing within them. They were witnesses to wonders, yet they were also men formed by scars and shadows. Judas, whose presence felt increasingly burdensome, clenched his fists, the silver coins pressed tightly in his palm. And what of destiny? Are our fates etched beyond Herculean effort? Are we but pawns in a divine game, or do we have the power to choose? His question sliced through the hesitance, leaving behind a fragile thread of unease. The air shifted, a mixture of longing and anxiety stirred among the brothers. Should they act boldly or tread carefully, gripping their fears as if they were swords? Peter battled an inner tempest, the winds of pride and humility battling for dominance. Are we not all called to be bold in our faith? Why do we allow fear to stifle us? Even the wild winds obey him. He hesitated, a wave of doubt washing over him. But how do we know he will catch us if we fall again? Thomas, still processing his thoughts, cleared his throat, his words hesitant yet piercing. Every question, every doubt, could they not be the beginnings of deeper faith? If I lay my skepticism aside, what then? Am I prepared to face the truth of what that entails? The discourse spiraled deeper, hearts bared under the dim light of flickering oil. Would they cling to their doubts or rise above them to meet the challenge? Each man's introspection echoed the collective human experience, the perpetual dance between belief and disbelief. Outside, the sounds of Jerusalem leaned in to listen. The calls of merchants faded into whispers, and the strumming of distant lute players became muted echoes of a night colored by uncertainty. As they shared their fears and dreams, an unsettling question lingered: were their destinies already written, or was the ink still wet upon the pages of their lives? And so, they found themselves at the precipice of decision, haunted by the unanswered mysteries of their calling. What lay ahead, they could not say. Could their resolution be the key to unearthing the hidden truths beneath their burdens? Would they emerge as leaders or remain forever as seekers, untouched by the power they professed to follow? Night deepened, and the moon hung high, casting its silvery glow upon the streets of Jerusalem. The disciples lingered in their dwelling, their voices now a mixture of reverence and anxiety. The oil lamp, flickering gently, illuminated their faces, revealing expressions torn between steadfast belief and gnawing doubt, as if shadows of past failures tainted their reflections. Amidst this tumult, the figure of Jesus remained at the edge of their collective consciousness, the source of their faith yet also the catalyst for their fears. James, the son of Alphaeus, spoke softly, but his voice carried the weight of many unspoken truths. He called us friends, yet here we are tangled in mysteries. What does it mean to be chosen? To walk alongside the one who bears the weight of the world? Is there a burden we have yet to understand? His words seemed to settle like dust in the air, an acknowledgement of the tension between their privilege and their vulnerability. It was more than the responsibility of carrying his message, it was the inner struggle of living up to the identity bestowed upon them. What did it truly mean to be his disciples in a world filled with doubt and uncertainty? As each disciple contemplated their role, Peter, fueled by an insatiable mix of courage and insecurity, rose to his feet. Perhaps it is in our struggles that we find the true essence of his teachings. Every miracle, every sermon, every moment he shared with us, as it not always pointed us towards a greater understanding of love and redemption? The others nodded, though some exchanged glances heavy with doubt. It was easy to speak of love, yet to practice it in the face of adversity loomed like an insurmountable mountain. It was Judas who finally broke the rising tension again, his voice taut with a hint of bitterness. Love is not enough when the world demands action. Will we rise against the forces that seek to imprison us, or will we submit quietly to our fate? What use is faith if it does not ignite change? An uneasy silence followed, the air thick with unspoken fears. The consequences of their choices pinned them down. In that moment, the question reverberated in their hearts: were they merely followers, or were they called to be agents of transformation? Thomas, sensing the collective turmoil, ventured, "Jesus taught of courage and faith, but fear is a relentless companion." What if our greatest challenge lies not in the world around us, but within our own hearts? How do we battle the doubts that come not from outside, but from the depths of our souls? As if responding to his challenge, the flame of the lamp flickered violently, casting eerie shapes on the walls, like the specters of their fears surfacing unbidden. John looked to the others with an earnest expression. Perhaps we must confront our fears together. Jesus entrusted us with his message because he believed in us. He knew our struggles, yet he chose us anyway. Isn't that the essence of his love? With renewed conviction wafting in the air, Matthew posed a question that sliced through their haze of introspection. If we are to be his messengers, we must first confront our shadows. But can we truly embrace love without first grappling with our doubts? Is there courage in acknowledging our fear, or does it only serve to undermine the faith we strive to uphold? Their discourse wound deeper still, revealing layers of their inner struggles. It was a melding of their distinct personalities, each a unique facet of a shared journey. The moonlight now illuminated their vulnerability and contemplation, their collective spirit simmered with unresolved tension. Outside, the world continued its dance, indifferent to the storms within their hearts. How would they face the challenges ahead, equipped only with flickers of faith amidst the shadows of doubt? Their destinies hung in the balance, threads of potential yet to be woven. In that dimly lit room, as they pondered over their fears and responsibilities, a question lingered in the silence: would their willingness to confront their shadows unearth the depth of their faith, or would it lead them further into the labyrinth of uncertainty? And could it be that the very doubts haunting them were the gateway to a deeper revelation of their purpose? As the night wore on, the weight of their conversation lingered, anchoring them to the very spot they occupied. The air seemed electric, charged with possibilities as each disciple wrestled with their insecurities and urgent questions. Just beyond their door, the city thrummed with life, oblivious to the inner tempest brewing within. The flickering flame of their lamp cast dancing shadows, which seemed to mirror their uncertain hearts, the light and ever-present reminder of hope amidst their darkness. Yet, like moths drawn to the flame, they felt the imperative to confront the secrets that loomed in the corners of their minds, secrets they had collectively shared and yet individually feared. Suddenly, a soft knock echoed through the stillness, a sound that broke the reverie. It was Mary of Magdala, her visage bright against the somber surroundings. Her presence injected life into the atmosphere as she stepped into their home unbidden. "I bear news," she began breathlessly, her eyes gleaming with urgency. "I have just come from the garden where he prayed." The heaviness upon him was palpable, yet there was something Maureen invitation to witness the very nature of his soul. Peter stepped forward, his heart racing. "What do you mean, Mary? Speak clearly. What did you see?" Mary clasped her hands, her expression shifting from fervor to gravitas. "I saw him in deep communion, the way he spoke to the heavens as if pleading, yet also rejoicing in an unfathomable love. But then, there was a moment when the shadows of the mayhem ahead seeped into his heart. I could feel the turbulence within him, a war between his spirit and the world's relentless darkness." The disciples exchanged startled glances, each of them drawn into her description. How could their beloved teacher bear the weight of such turmoil? Thomas, driven by a blend of skepticism and fascination, pressed, "But what of us? What role do we play in his unfolding story? We cannot merely stand by while he grapples with forces greater than we can understand." Mary nodded, acknowledging the gravity of their dilemma. He spoke of a time of great trial, yet there was also a promise of hope woven within his words, an assurance that love would conquer all, even in the face of despair. He asked us to remain vigilant, to support one another as we seek to embody that love. John's heart quickened at her words. In our unity lies our strength. Perhaps that is the profound lesson he imparts to us through his own struggle. Can we embrace that call to love even as we find it difficult to love ourselves in the midst of our doubts? As they absorbed this revelation, the atmosphere shifted. A sense of shared purpose ignited within the gathering, propelling them into discussion about what it truly meant to live out the principles Jesus taught. Was it simply about professing belief, or did it demand an active response? Matthew, ever the analyst, pondered aloud, could it be that our hesitance to embrace our fears is what holds us back from acting? Jesus trusts us with his message, knows that we may falter, yet still calls us to rise. If we dare to step into the unknown, what wonders might unfold? A profound silence enveloped them, weighted with the possibilities of existence itself. Their paths, once so shrouded in uncertainty, now appeared slightly clearer, a convergence driven by love, inner struggles, and the pursuit of truth. As each disciple internally wrestled with the implications of trusting in this newfound hope, a question echoed in their hearts: would they be willing to walk not only beside Jesus but also through their own dark corridors, emerging transformed and resilient despite their myriad fears? Would they find strength in vulnerability, permitting their collective journey to redefine the narrative of their faith, or would they remain ensnared by the shadows lurking within? As dawn began to stretch its golden fingers across the horizon, softly illuminating the room where they had gathered, the disciples sensed an undeniable shift within themselves. The lingering darkness of night felt less oppressive now, and the glow of potential lay before them like the morning sun. Slowly, each one of them emerged from the heavy weight of introspection, compelled to share their stories of doubt and courage. It was Andrew who broke the silence first. "I cannot help but wonder if our teacher's struggle is a mirror for our own. He has without fail shown us how to embrace the world around us, yet I find myself retreating within. What if my hesitance has kept his light from reaching others?" Bartholomew interjected, his hazel eyes wide with contemplation. "Indeed, Andrew. I too wrestle with the knowledge that we are called to be his witnesses. Yet, in our humanity, we falter, don't we? There is a fear that perhaps we are not enough, that our mere existence cannot impact the world in the way he envisions." Each word seemed to reverberate off the walls, stirring something deep within them. Silence enveloped the room again, but this time it was not heavy with despair, it was filled with the weight of shared understanding. They were all grappling with the same insecurities, the same fear of inadequacy. Perhaps their collective vulnerability was their greatest strength. Suddenly, a memory surfaced in Peter's heart, one that felt particularly relevant in that moment. "Remember the time he called to us from the shores of Galilee? Each of us left our nets behind, not knowing how the journey would unfold. He believed in us then. Why should it be any different now?" The remembrance echoed loudly, infusing the atmosphere with a nostalgic energy. James, with his ever steadfast demeanor, nodded affirmatively. "It is true. He entrusted us with this mission, not because we were perfect, but because we were willing. We must hold on to that truth even now, against the tumult that lies ahead." With renewed resolve whispered amongst them, it was Matthew who spoke next, but his tone shifted to a more contemplative note. "There is also something we must acknowledge: our faith cannot solely reside in the absence of fear. What if our growth lies not in overcoming fear, but in embracing it? Perhaps our purpose is to walk alongside those who struggle as we have." Thomas, ever the thinker, furrowed his brow in deep reflection. What if our teacher's turmoil is a call for us to embrace our own uncertainties? Would it not be a profound testament to those who follow us, that in our fragility, we can still proclaim faith? How do we share this revelation without sounding weak or uncertain ourselves? As they engaged in this exchange, a divine understanding began to surface. Perhaps this was the very essence of Jesus' teaching. He did not shy away from grief, struggle, or the weight of the world. Instead, he invited them to embody these experiences, to let their humanity merge with his divinity in the steadfast pursuit of love. Seeing the transformation in his companions, John felt a spark within himself. What if our unity, rooted in honesty about our fears, is what will carry his light into the world? In recognizing our shared battles, we create a space for others to do the same. Perhaps there lies the secret to living forth his message. With the embers of hope kindling brighter within their hearts, they reflected on the mysterious gift of their journey together. Yet, as the sun crested the horizon, casting light upon the steadfast stones of their path ahead, a haunting question lingered in the air. Would they dare to expose their vulnerabilities, allowing their struggles to illuminate the road for others, or would they revert to silence, withholding the fullness of their spirits and the transformative power of love? As the sun ascended, casting vibrant colors across the sky, an unusual stillness lingered in the hearts of the disciples. While the day heralded a new beginning, uncertainties still encircled them like shadows. Embracing their newfound resolve, they quietly chose to leave the room behind, each step echoing with purpose as they made their way into the early light. It was as if the world outside could sense their collective weight, a blend of hope and pressure mingling in the air. The streets of Jerusalem, pulsing with life, had never seemed so alive. Merchants called out, children laughed, the offerings of a new day brushed against their senses, yet there remained a hush in their hearts as they proceeded. Jesus' teachings resonated within them, a steady rhythm guiding their thoughts. Philip, seeking clarity, pondered aloud, what if we have been given more than just a mission? What if he intends for us to understand that the very essence of our journey is an unfolding of divine truth? Indeed, replied Simon the Zealot, fervor igniting his voice. His words were layered with meaning, suggesting that in discovering our own path through struggle, we uncover a greater purpose. But how can we articulate this to those who may not understand? How do we shine brightly without fear of judgment? The wisdom in questioning these uncertainties lingered. Each disciple had his own struggle to face. As they wandered the bustling streets, they approached the temple, where the familiar sights and sounds of prayer resonated within the walls. Mary, with a spark of inspiration, exclaimed, "Perhaps our greatest testimony lies in our stories. Each of us has witnessed his miracles, tangible expressions of faith through our personal trials. We must not shy away from sharing them." Her spirit stirred something deep within the group. Each of them had encountered Jesus in moments of profound love yet equally profound vulnerability. Matthew offered, "When I collected taxes, I was outcast. Yet he saw me, embraced me, and spoke of a new kind of wealth. My transformation is a testament that no past can diminish a future reclaimed through his grace." "Your words ring true," James responded, "for I have often battled doubt while following him, questioning not only my place among the chosen but also my worthiness to convey his message." Yet did he not remind us through his own struggles that even the strongest can feel weak? The air was thick with vulnerability, conversations unveiling threads of shared experience. In this intertwining of narratives, Thomas felt a stirring of courage. What if we gathered those moments where doubt transformed into strength? In sharing our weaknesses, we unveil the portrait of his grace. Our frailty supports his magnanimity. Their discussions crystallize the complex union of faith and doubt, illuminating the diverse path of discipleship. Yet, amid their reflections, a question remained lodged in their consciousness: were they ready to face the world not as flawless emissaries, but as bearers of truth, authentic witnesses of the God that dwelled within both their strengths and their struggles? As they drew near to the temple, footsteps echoing with purpose, another layer of mystery unveiled itself. Was the true testament of their bond not merely in their faith, but in their willingness to embrace the tempest of uncertainty together? What lay ahead was still uncertain, but their collective strength promised to illuminate paths unknown. Would they dare to journey into that vast uncertainty, sharing their authentic selves with the world, reflecting the depths of love and truth they had found in the teacher? As they approached the temple, the warmth of the rising sun cast long shadows across the stone-paved streets. Each disciple felt the weight of expectation, the anticipation swelling within them like an unspoken call to action. As Mary suggested sharing their stories, a deep sense of purpose ignited the hearts of the gathered men and women around them. They entered the temple courtyard, a sacred place reverberating with prayers and rituals, where the faithful came seeking solace and guidance. Philip shared a glance with Simon as they stepped into the open space, the towering columns seeming to beckon them closer. "Shall we begin here?" Philip asked, his voice barely rising above the throng of worshippers. The courtyard was a vivid tapestry of life, yet, it felt as though they stood on the threshold of something profound, an encounter with both the divine and the ordinary. While others prayed, the disciples gathered among the onlookers. Their shared experiences flowed like a river, with each disciple recounting their visions of Jesus and the transformative moments that had defined their beliefs. "We must connect our testimonies to their lives," Matthew urged, "for even the smallest of miracles can sprout like seeds in the hearts of those who hear." James's voice resonated as he added, "What if we not only speak of our encounters with him, but also express openly our struggles? There is power in vulnerability. Perhaps it is through our honesty that others will understand the fullness of his grace." In that sacred space, the energy shifted as voices mingled with the laughter of children and the sound of sacrifice offered at the altar. Each story shared rippled through the crowd, drawing curious souls closer. The disciples sensed the weight of their words. Their journeys have become the mosaic of faith, shaping a larger narrative. But then a profound stillness overcame their gathering. From the soft murmur of discussions, a figure emerged from the shadows of the temple, a woman with sun-kissed hair and eyes that bore the depth of 1,000 stories. She approached with hesitant steps, as if the weight of the world pressed against her heart. The crowd parted, allowing the woman to step forward, her gaze fixating upon the disciples with an intensity that startled them. "I have heard whispers of what you all claim to believe," she spoke, her voice trembling yet undeniably resilient. "They speak of miracles and hope, yet my life has known despair and silence. How can one such as I, lost in the shadows, dare to believe? How can your stories provide light to those who have forgotten how to see?" A hush fell over the disciples. It was Simon who found his voice first, the flame of empathy ignited within him. "We understand your struggles, for they mirror our own. We share in doubt and fear, just as we have shared in his love. If you could hear our stories, perhaps you would catch a glimpse of the truth we have found within that divine embrace." The woman listened, her expression softening yet still guarded. "But you are chosen. How can I, who feels so unworthy, share in this transformation?" "We have all felt unworthy," Thomas interjected gently. "Each of us has wrestled between our faith and our fears. We do not bring perfection to the table but rather the desire to be known in our entirety. Our imperfections write a deeper narrative. It is in our weakness that we behold the strength of his love." As their exchange unfolded, the disciples realized the depth of the spiritual mystery before them. They were discovering that their collective experience of Jesus was not limited to miracles of grandeur but extended to the quiet, subtle ways faith intertwined with human struggle and resilience. In this moment of connection, they recognized the beauty of their shared vulnerability, reflecting the reality that faith blooms even in the darkest corners of life. And just as suddenly as she had arrived, the question hung in the air, unraveling like a thread: how could their collective stories transform lives beyond the walls of the temple? Was sharing their truth a mere encounter, or was it an ember leading to a flame of hope for those trapped in their own shadows? The disciples felt the horizon of their mission stretching before them, illuminated by the flickering light of possibility. Would their willingness to bare their souls invite others to step into the light, igniting paths of faith yet unseen? As the conversation hung in the air, the atmosphere in the temple courtyard shifted, weaving a tapestry richer than before. The sun continued its ascent, casting golden rays that pierced through the gaps of the columns above them, illuminating the faces of the disciples and the woman before them. Each ember of hope sparked a flame of conversation. The struggles reflected in their words began to chase away the shadows, inviting a deeper exploration of faith and community. "Tell me your stories," the woman implored, her eyes now filled with a flicker of curiosity. "For in them lies a key that may unlock the door to my own past." The disciples gathered closer, their hearts attuned to the call for vulnerability. Matthew began, his voice steady but gentle. "I was once a tax collector, despised and alone. My life was marked by greed, yet in one encounter with him, I found not just acceptance, but the purpose I so fervently sought. I remember the moment vividly, how his gaze pierced through my facade, unearthing a hidden longing for something far greater than wealth." As he spoke, the woman's brow furrowed, and Simon, sensing her questions, softly added, "Do not be mistaken. Our paths were paved with hardship. Even as disciples, we bickered, doubted, and stumbled along the way. What binds us is the understanding that grace shines brightest in the act of drawing near to one another in our brokenness." Listening intently, the woman shifted her weight, absorbing the weight of every sentiment expressed. One by one, they opened their hearts. James spoke of fears that crept in during the dark of night, while John shared his cherished memories of walking alongside Jesus, feeling the warmth of the Master's Spirit guide him even in moments of uncertainty. Each reflection unfurled not just their pasts, but the ties that bound them together like living branches intertwined in a resilient tree. Amidst these shared confessions, a murmur stirred among the crowd listening intently. The stories of the disciples drew even more seekers, and soon the courtyard swelled with curious faces. Their presence whispered a mingling of hope, and yet, doubt remained, a quiet undertow hiding beneath the surface, threatening to drown the light they sought to illuminate. As the woman turned her gaze from the disciples to the faces shimmering with empathy and yearning, she asked, have any of you ever felt like I do now, trapped within a silence that holds you hostage from believing in something greater? Mary stepped forward, her heart echoing the woman's struggle. I have felt that despair, too. I stood at the foot of the cross, watching the one I loved suffer, while my heart broke in a way that words could scarcely express. And yet, it was in that darkness, amidst loss, that I became more aware of grace. Sometimes it takes losing everything to find why we are alive. The woman heard in Mary's words a resonance of her own anguish, a mirror reflecting the harsh realities of a life fraught with suffering. A ripple of understanding passed through her, urging her to explore this faith she once deemed impossible. But how? She whispered, the question bridging the gap between despair and hope. In that moment, the disciples realized that the mystery of faith resembled a tapestry stitched from the threads of stories yet to be told. It became evident that sharing their truths was both a journey inward and outward, revealing the way their collective experiences created a beacon for those groping in the darkness. As they contemplated this profound connection, a sense of urgency washed over Philip. Perhaps the answer does not lie solely in our tales, but in the way we live them, he suggested, his voice resonating with conviction. If we embody these stories in our daily lives, if we let them become a part of us, then we can truly draw others out of their silence, inspiring them to trust in their own narratives. Their hearts raced at this thought, yet an unsettling tension lingered like mist on the horizon. They understood that vulnerability could draw many nearer, but it also carried the risk of exposing their own wounds. Would their authenticity ignite a flame, or would it bring forth doubt of a different kind? And just as their reflections deepened, it struck them every story, every struggle shared in the warmth of the sunlit courtyard felt like a movement toward something greater than themselves. Yet, they stood on the precipice of the unknown, wondering if their act of sharing would weave a new legacy of faith. Would it inspire the woman before them and countless others to step into the light, or would they remain entangled in the shadows of their doubts? They had ignited a spark. However, the question loomed larger than life itself. How could the journey from sharing personal stories to guiding others illuminate pathways of faith that lead to the divine? What threads of connection remained hidden, waiting in silence to be discovered? As the disciples stood in the sun-drenched courtyard, a hush enveloped them. Their hearts thrummed not just with anticipation but also with the weight of the stories yet to be uncovered. The woman's inquiry hung between them like a thread that had yet to be woven into the larger fabric of a life shared. Each glance exchanged was laden with an unspoken understanding that they must venture deeper into their own mysteries to shed light on hers. In that moment, a figure emerged from the periphery of the gathering. It was Andrew, the elder brother of Peter, who had often been an overlooked voice in the chorus of their testimonies. If we speak of mysteries, he began, his voice soft yet firm, let us not forget how the simplest acts often hold the greatest depths. The disciples turned to him with curiosity, for Andrew was known for his gentle humility. I remember the first time I met him, he continued, his eyes gleaming as he recalled that fateful day by the Jordan River. I was merely seeking, listening, wanting to understand the stir that was growing among our people. I found him on the banks, and his words danced in my spirit like fire. What struck me then was not just his presence, but how he held an expansive understanding of every human heart. Me own heart. The woman held her breath, captivated. What did he say? Andrew paused, swept up in the memory. He asked what I was seeking. It was such a simple question, yet it pierced through the layers of my uncertainty. I had come seeking a teacher, yet what I found was a friend, a reflection of my own aspirations and fears. It was in that moment of vulnerability, of laying bare my own quest for truth, that I understood my part in a much grander story. The others listened, realizing that their leader had revealed a fundamental truth. Vulnerability cultivates deeper connections not just among friends but with the divine. Andrew's story was a reflection of their own journeys. Each had been drawn closer to Jesus not just by doctrine, but by the grace of feeling understood. As murmurs rippled through the crowd, Philip watched the woman's expression shift from intrigue to contemplation. You see, he added, stepping closer, it is not simply what we share but the way we choose to embody what we learn. Each interaction with him transformed me, a layer shedding away from my heart so that light could punctuate the shadows. Yet, the transformation does not end with understanding, interjected Peter, whose voice rang with the gravity of his experiences. When faced with tribulation or doubt, we often regress into silence, forgetting the depth of his invitation to us. We are called to not merely carry our stories but to offer them to one another as sacred gifts. At the mention of gifts, a flicker of realization passed through the gathering. The very essence of their stories served a dual purpose. They were both for their own healing and for inviting others into the light of faith. Just as Andrew had encountered Jesus with an open heart, so too must they extend themselves to those around them. The woman, sensing the depth of their commitment, leaned in closer. How then, if this journey is shared, do we trust each other with our pains and doubts? What if the stories we bear seem too heavy? Her voice wavered as her vulnerability surfaced anew. Mary, emboldened through her connection to Andrew's story, replied, "It is this very fear of burdening others that often isolates us. But in our struggles, we invite others into communion. It is precisely our brokenness that reveals the beauty of collective grace. When we share our struggles, we bridge the chasms that threaten to divide us." A murmur of agreement arose from those assembled, but doubt lingered still, an unbidden specter threatening to overshadow their dialogue. Could they really transcend their fears? Would their narratives intertwine in a way that bolstered faith, fostering hope amidst despair? Caught in the crossroads of faith and uncertainty, they pondered, would their shared vulnerabilities invite others into a life of light, or would their stories remain veiled, leaving questions existing in perpetual silence? What sacred threads lay dormant, awaiting revelation, ready to bind their hearts closer together in this pilgrimage of faith? As dawn broke over Jerusalem, the disciples stood poised on the cusp of transformation. The radiant light ushered in revelations, illuminating their hearts and minds alike. Each moment seemed imbued with the sacred potential to weave together threads of faith, community, and purpose if only they dared to lean into the vulnerability that bound them. Mary sensed the divine invitation pulsing within their gathering, drawing them nearer to the core of their mission. "It is within our honesty that we find our strength," she urged, her voice steady. "We are not merely called to share our wisdom but to lay bare our struggles, for in the depths of our own scars reside the stories waiting to be told." Encouraged by Mary's words, the woman stepped forward, her heart quickening. "I yearn for understanding. How do I traverse the shadows that loom so large? What strength can I find in your tales if my heart remains shrouded in darkness?" Andrew, feeling the weight of her inquiry, stepped into that space of shared uncertainty. "What I learned from Jesus was that he didn't fix every wound or solve every mystery. Instead, he taught us to sit with our pain, to allow it to become part of our story. Through these challenges, he transformed us into vessels of his love." The woman's brow furrowed with skepticism tinged with hope. "But what if the shadows consume me? What if I falter on this path?" James leaned forward, his eyes filled with fierce compassion. "To falter is to be human. It is within our failures that the light can shine through. Each stumble becomes a stepping stone in our journey, leading us closer to grace." As he spoke, a quiet understanding washed over the disciples. Their shared stories, fraught with fear and uncertainty, became the very fabric of connection between them. They were not just witnesses to the extraordinary, they were bearers of life's raw truths, ripples of faith echoing through struggle and triumph. Peter, his heart emboldened, declared, "Let us not shy away from the weight of our own histories. It is when we bear witness to one another's stories that we ignite a fire of resilience. Together, we belong to a larger narrative, a tapestry that weaves threads of doubt, faith, and unyielding love." With each fervent exchange, the courtyard began to teem with inquisitive hearts, more souls drawn into their communion than they had initially perceived. The disciples realized that the invitation to share their stories was not just for the woman who stood before them, but for all whose eyes now glistened with anticipation and hope. "Perhaps we should recount our individual tales," Matthew suggested, the flicker of new conviction shining bright in his eyes. "Let each of us articulate our journeys, the raw moments of doubt and fear that constructed the foundation of our faith. Together, we can breathe life into one another's struggles. What if our collective experiences could light a path for others?" The disciples nodded, their spirits lifting as they embraced the transformative power of honesty. From the shadows of their pasts emerged stories rich with redemption, each one nourishing the roots of faith that entwined their hearts. Thomas stood among them, the doubt that had once consumed him now a flickering flame of realization. I believed that doubt separated me from faith, that to question was to betray. Yet here we stand, witnesses to love that embraces even our uncertainties. What if my heart's hesitance gives way to a greater understanding, allowing my voice to resonate with others who also grapple with disbelief, their voices mingled, weaving together testimonies of healing, acceptance, and hope. As they spoke, an invisible bond strengthened among them, deepening their commitment to be transparent and genuine in their shared journey. Amidst the unfolding narrative, the woman, now suffused with newfound courage, asked, "In this community, how do we refuse to turn away from our pain? How do we invite others to step into this light of confession?" Simon the Zealot, brimming with passion, immediately posited, "By extending our hands to one another. Acknowledging that we are all collectively on this journey not just to receive but to give. We become vessels of grace, reflecting the love we have received, offering it freely to those seeking the same." The warmth of connection burgeoned, revealing an unexpected twist to their endeavor. They composed a circle of love that transcended mere storytelling. It was an embrace of collective vulnerability where their scars illuminated the mysteries of human existence, the very essence of the divine intertwined within the fabric of life. As the sun ascended higher, casting a brilliant glow upon the assembly of seekers, the disciples found a breakthrough. Embracing those around them, they offered up their stories, each heartbeat synchronized in the desire to reach out into the chasms of despair, inviting others into the light. John, inspired by the palpable atmosphere of communion, raised his voice. "In the depths of our disclosure lies the essence of love, the kind that welcomes all, that seeks to dismantle barriers built by fear. If we brave the storm together, we can cultivate hope where darkness once reigned." With this profound revelation, the courtyard radiated a new sense of purpose, a calling to step beyond their own fears into greater realms of possibility. Together, they chose to lift their voices, crafting a powerful chorus of vulnerability that would transcend the walls of the temple, echoing throughout the city. As they began to express their unity through song and shared laughter, the woman felt the barriers that had constrained her heart begin to dissolve. She stepped up, no longer an outsider but a participant in this sacred weave of existence. "I will share my story too," she said, her conviction blossoming like the morning sun. And so, the disciples embarked on a journey that would echo throughout the ages, embracing their shared humanity, translating their trials into testimonies that sparked faith in the hearts of all listening. Each moment transformed into an opportunity to illuminate pathways toward profound love and acceptance, transcending their own limitations. As they lifted their voices in unison, a powerful revelation surged within them. Every life, every story held the potential to unleash waves of grace, rippling forth to touch others. In choosing to bear witness to both their struggles and triumphs, they paved a path not only for their own healing but for the healing of a world longing for connection. As that day waned and the sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting a golden glow across Jerusalem, the disciples understood that their choice to embrace vulnerability had birthed something divine. Hope danced along the streets, no longer confined to the shadows but radiating outward, illuminating the lives of all who dared to step into the light of their shared truth. And thus, they set forth, resolute in their purpose, embodying the light of Christ, breathing life into the aching hearts of humanity. No longer mere witnesses, they were now empowered to be agents of transformation, love cascading like a river, beckoning each person to journey from darkness into the glorious embrace of faith. For in the beauty of their stories lay the greatest revelation of all, that every heart, no matter how lost, can become a vessel of light when exposed to the warmth of love and acceptance. In this divine interplay, their legacies would ripple through time, igniting faith long after their earthly footprints had faded.